Hello and welcome to another episode of the I Am Laura podcast, juggling chronic illness, kids, a job and a dream. This series is all about me talking to the people who sort of inspired me when I was at my lowest and helping me navigate through moving through this really difficult period of mine, which was to do with losing my identity as a teacher because my health was dictating to me that I couldn't continue, and moving away from that and all of the feelings and the grief and things that come with having to move away from the teaching profession, which those of you who are in it will understand what that is, because it is very vocational. It is something that you put your heart and soul into, very much like nursing or being a doctor, any of those sorts of caring roles. And it's very much it hurts to leave. There's a lot of guilt around that. So I just want to introduce you to Joanne Howard, who is the founder, and how would you describe yourself?
I don't know. I only took on the title of CEO, I think last year
CEO.
as I built a team. I thought I was allowed it then. It's very
You are
grand.
allowed.
Founder, creator, whoever.
Joe, who is the CEO of Adventures After Teaching, which is this amazing business and group that I stumbled across actually, Joe, when I was really struggling. So this was the end of 2021, so I'd been ill for a couple of years. My medication had stopped sort of working. The whole COVID thing had been going on, and I came across one of your freebies that you put out there,
Yeah.
the Stay or Go freebie, and I can't tell you the impact actually it had on me at the time, with just realizing that I wasn't completely useless. So
Yeah. Or alone as well. It's that
yeah,
thing of other people get it and putting words to what is going on maybe as well. Like there's so much we push down and take responsibility for, and actually it's really not you, it is the system that you're in. Like even if
that's
you're,
true.
you're not actually unwell as you were, Laura, you had a double whammy to kind
Yeah.
of cope with as well, didn't you?
Yeah. I asked Jo actually before we started recording whether she remembered what I was like when I first came into the academy with her. She nodded at me. So go on, Jo. What was I like when you first met me?
Well, I think we do obviously have a lot of members that are significantly burnt out and signed off with work-related stress. So it's quite a normal thing for members to come in really quite broken, I suppose, to the extreme. Um, Both in the sense of getting to the stage where they realize they can't do it anymore, but I think with that comes the grief and the resentment and the guilt of feeling like that's been taken away from them. Even when you come to that decision that, for me and my family, it's not healthy for me anymore, there's still that part of you that kind of fights against it and has those, I suppose, rose-tinted glasses, thinking about the time when it was working. Like, why can't I get back there
Mm,
again? And it's very, very difficult, I think, to accept.
yeah.
It's time to go. So I think, like a lot of people coming into the academy, that the contrast, I suppose, when you're feeling burnt out, between that cortisol driven, really reactive, high achieving,
Mm,
energy, where, as much as we're judged and weighed and measured, there are those opportunities to add to our status in schools in terms of, department leads, etc., that feed that almost.
mm,
So I think particularly for the kind of the high achievers in the group, and we do have a lot of middle and senior leaders that
yeah.
come in, it's even more ferocious and a blow, I think, to have to give that identity up, because without it, you don't really know who you are.
Yeah.
And obviously, for you, Laura, you were in chronic pain as well. So having to deal with all those kind of mind gremlins
Mm,
around worth and, what the future could look like, you also didn't know with, the pain you were experiencing whether you could work. It wasn't even the like, what will I do? It's like, can I actually work?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I do recognize that. I think that kind of entrepreneurial high achiever need to be doing, what like driven to succeed in you, which can make it even more brutal, as I said. Like, and I think it's a whole journey of learning to calm the hell down and
Mm,
let things go and recognize, what is ego, and I don't mean that in a dismissive
No, I
way,
know.
because I've
Yeah,
certainly been there
yeah,
myself and attached a lot to status.
yeah.
And then I think it's in leaving that just had a call this morning, like an off sick Zoom cuppa that used to
Yeah.
come to maybe, where when we put like names to those emotions, there is an element of humiliation and shame
Oh,
in walking
yeah.
away from it, isn't there? I think, what will people be thinking about me? What will people be saying about me?
Mm,
There's so many emotions. It's such a roller coaster. It's such a,
mm.
yeah, big old messy ball of emotions.
It's,
But I suppose that's that safe space to be able to say, actually, it's all a bit real crap at the
yeah,
moment. And be able to have a sob on a Zoom call with people that completely get it
yeah,
and know when to just hold that space
yeah.
versus, you know, are you looking for answers? Like, is it helpful to explore solutions? Because actually, a lot of the time, it's
No,
not about that.
needs to be a bit of time, doesn't there, to sort of deal with it. Yeah, you're so right about how many emotions there are. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and also about it is high achieving, and you can be high achieving in so many ways, but I think when you're a teacher or any sort of high demand, high pressure environment, you are used to working at such a pace that your whole system is like on tenterhooks the whole time, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like you're on high alert constantly, and
Mm.
you're busy, 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 and you think you're being really efficient and really amazing at everything. And I can fill this in, I can stick this in as well. I won't go to bed. I'll go to bed at 1 o'clock and I'll get up at 4 o'clock and I'll finish marking, and I can manage, I can manage all the time. And
Yeah.
then actually, as soon as you start coming down from that, that's why teachers get ill at holidays, isn't it? Because suddenly it's
Yeah.
like, whoop, I've
And
stopped and everything
yeah,
comes in. Yeah.
absolutely. And
So
there's chronic health conditions that are related to, or at least
yeah,
exacerbated by stress. It's
yeah,
so commonplace
it
in
is.
those
Yeah,
giving professions,
yeah,
um, because there is very little sense potentially of boundary, of of recognizing when we are deplete. We're so used to
yeah.
being mentally wired, and that almost kind of like it's like our bodies are dragged along by our
That's it.
heads. This like
Yeah,
image of like the body saying, "No,
just
I don't want to go. I
yeah,
don't want
yeah, it is.
to go."
That was
When we
me.
do
That was
stop,
me, Joe, because my brain's like, I'm fine, just get on with it,
yeah,
get on with it. But then my body's like, no, no, you can't do this
yeah,
anymore. You need to stop, Laura. I was going to say also that there's this expectation, isn't there? So within those settings and within schools, there is this expectation of this level of work. Like if you're not up to this level of work, you look down upon. It's like you need to be working at this level. And I found out that as soon as something happens to you, like as soon as you're ill, you're
yeah,
just like, oh, well, you're not at this level anymore. You're useless now. Even though like you've put in so much work for so long, it was like you were completely disposable.
yeah.
And that's really upsetting, which I'm
It
sure
is
that
really
emotion comes out
hurtful.
as well,
Yeah,
because it's just like, I mean, I can understand, and I've talked about this before, like from an association or a company's point of view, because they are businesses, aren't they? Because they've got money coming in and money coming out, and from that point of view, you can understand why if somebody's chronically ill,
yeah,
it's difficult for them to keep you on. But
yeah,
then from the human side of things, you don't ask to be ill. This just
yeah,
happened, and you've suddenly got to deal with the fact that you could potentially lose your job on top of
yeah,
what the hell's wrong with me? Who's going
yeah.
to fix me? And how the hell am I supposed to pay the bills? It's like this, it's a huge like amalgamation of so many things come together, which also adds to stress, doesn't it? Which is
Yeah, yeah,
the
absolutely.
importance of finding a group like yours with people
Mm,
who they may not be chronically ill, but it may be chronic stress, like you've said,
yeah,
who just understand, who just understand. And I remember sitting in that room. I said this to you the other day about when I first came into the Zoom room where we all met, and there was probably, what do you reckon, like 15 people, something like that, 20 people.
yeah, probably.
Only, I think we're all women actually. And we were all just broken. We are just broken, and I cried. Definitely. I'm sure
That permission to,
lots
though,
of
isn't
people
it? Like once
cried.
somebody
Yeah,
talks, and
yeah,
then you're like, actually, it is a safe. And I will say
yeah.
that, once it's that stopping as well, and in that
Mm,
stopping, it's not just that you allow yourself to be tired, but
Yeah.
actually all the kind of trauma does start bubbling up
Yeah.
and you can feel worse, like physically and mentally, um, because you've masked so much.
Yeah.
So like you say, then be in a position where you've got to get a job or start a business or whatever, if that from a practical perspective, you have to slow down to speed up. You can't push through it. And we're not used to that as teachers. We just, like you said before, we work later, we over prepare a bit more. So to have to lean into that discomfort of not knowing is, yeah, foundationally such a shift in mindset,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like
Yeah.
we're just not
Yeah.
used to at all. But it's also members of staff. I think we're just chatting about this morning on a call that, like, yes, you might have your line managers suddenly become very abrupt and professional as unions get involved and things like that. But it's also then, I think, how work colleagues that you may have considered to be friends or family stop
That's
contacting.
it. Yeah.
Um, and yes, we can get on the path of, what am I making that mean? And look at the kind of cognitive behavioral therapy approaches to manage that. And it won't always be true.
Yeah.
But it's hurtful.
Yeah.
It's really hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, why you find an alternative staff room.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I was what was I going to say? I've come to the because that's happened to me. Okay, so I was such good friends with so many people at school, and then I think I speak to two of them, and my sort of I've sort of worked through this quite a lot, but my sort of thinking behind this is that well, when I was a teacher, I didn't have time to keep in touch with anyone either.
Yeah.
It's like a time consuming thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So and actually since leaving Joe, I've now got a community of people around me, which I never had before. Now, I live in Cornwall, which is like 6 hours away from where I'm from. So I've got no family or anything like that down here. So for the first 15 years of me living down here, I was at school.
Yeah.
And my whole world and my friends and all the rest of it were at school. And so I didn't have anybody in my local community because I didn't teach in my local community because I didn't want, when I first moved down, didn't want to be going to the pub surrounded by kids that, I taught. So I worked a little further away. And then when I left, I've now got such an amazing group of friends who live quite near to me that I can ring and say, will you look after Emmy or will you look after Lucy?
Yeah.
I've even had, Lucy stayed for a weekend at a friend's house while we've had to go up because my husband's parents were ill and
Yeah.
things like that. And well, can you pick them up and drop them off? I've never had that before. So it's amazing, actually, as soon as you sort of step away,
Yeah.
and you're not, you can then make relationships with people like proper ones, like proper
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's not just about the physical time, is it? It's like the mental capacity as well. Like
Yes.
when we're peopled out, we've had that sensory overwhelm all day. And I think that's another thing that really registers once you step away, like silly things like lights and noises
Yeah.
and how many interactions you've had to have in a day
Yeah.
are really quite exhausting. And then, making chit chat on the playground afterwards. Thanks. Or volunteering for the PT every time something comes up. I was like, I've done my time. And I haven't really. I've not done my time for my kids' school, but mentally I'm like, no thanks. Yeah.
Over for me.
Somebody else can pick that one up. Not very kind.
It's
Anyway.
capacity though, isn't it? And I think also something you taught me is about, you mentioned boundaries, but it is about boundaries and boundaries being crossed all the time. And
Yeah.
no, I didn't realize they were. Didn't realize at all. I knew I was uncomfortable, but I didn't realize it was a boundary. And that's something really important that you have taught me. And I've actually I think you would be proud of me this year, oh, not last year, 2024 now, but of sticking to my boundaries and standing up for myself,
Yeah.
which I would never have done before. I would have just been like, oh God, right, okay, I'll just get on. I must have done something awful. I'll just crack on.
Yeah, just taking
Yeah.
responsibility. But the thing is, I think with schools, that this is the thing that not a lot gets me angry in this subject. I'm there like saying to people like, come on, the other side, come the other side.
Yeah.
What makes me really, really upset and angry is when I think members of staff, and it can be in other sectors as well, do not feel safe enough to say, they're not psychologically safe enough to say, I'm struggling. Like you said, it's there's a subtle difference, I suppose, in terms of a long-term health condition, but even just stress is building up. But they've seen what happens when people admit that they're struggling, even if they haven't sat on the senior leadership team.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's such a dangerous, dangerous game to be playing with people. that they either, just push through or they break. And you like
Yeah.
how many stories do we see, on social media and people like fantasizing about throwing themselves down some stairs or,
Oh
picking out
God.
that tree because they just need it to stop
Mm.
legitimately, to have something physically wrong with them. So they're allowed. And
Mine
like that
was
permission is awful, isn't
crash
it?
my car. That's
Yeah.
what mine was.
Yeah.
I just want to go to hospital for a couple of weeks, have people look after me. I don't have to make the
It's
dinner. Oh my
horrible.
God, I've never
But
actually said that out loud before. But that's funny that you say that because that's what mine was. Just drive
yeah.
into this back of this or
Yeah,
yeah.
not so I hurt anybody else or myself
No,
significantly, but
didn't want to
just so I
die.
can
Just yeah.
legitimately, you know, when you're, I think that's the thing when you're on the treadmill, and this is why I admire so much, the people coming in to the academy, not just that, those that obviously are burnt out and they're signed off, like that's a huge journey to go on, but those that are working full time and doing it as well, because yeah, you don't want to be encouraging that pushing through and like digging deeper because they're so depleted already, but there's no other way out, you know?
Mm,
Like, it's either we kind of, yeah, try to build community together and find that motivation. And it is about what's the word? It's not motivate, momentum, isn't it? It's like keeping
yeah.
that momentum going. So we get out of that sense of inertia, which is just toxic in schools.
Mm,
So you're so institutionalized and you normalize so much damaging mental and
yeah.
physical behavior experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it takes a long time, doesn't it? I mean, it's not a quick fix scenario. And um, for me, it's taken me a couple of years really to feel confident and bubbly. And I'm quite bubbly anyway, but just, just to feel, I feel like I sit really comfortably in myself now. Like I really
yeah,
feel like I guess it's centered, isn't it? I feel like I'm happy with who I am. I think I'm good. I work hard. I do, and I feel like I'm living
yeah,
comfortably with myself. And you're right about when you leave, you just no idea really who you are anymore. I remember sitting there going, I've no idea who I am. And that was quite a difficult period for me and my husband because it was a complete shift in dynamic in our relationship. And how to navigate that was really, really challenging. I mean, I think it's still going on, to be honest. We've got over the bit where, I'm not because we never used to really talk to each other in term time because we'd go out to work early in the morning, dropping the kids at childcare. We'd come home. I'd be home a bit after him. He'd be cooking the tea. The kids were little.
Mm.
We'd get the kids to bed and I'd turn my laptop on and start working and he'd go in
Yeah,
the kitchen and clear up and
yeah,
all the rest of it. And that would be it. And then it'd be like, right, it's time for bed, and we go to bed, and then we do it again. So, and then it changed because suddenly I wasn't working, and I was like, waving at him like hello, trying to talk to him, and he's like, oh, I'm not, I go and potter in the kitchen now, I'm not used to
plan.
this.
It wasn't part of the deal, Laura.
That's what I signed up for. So all of that changed as well, and also my sort of admitting of my greater emotional need that I needed from him, like greater
Yeah,
emotional support. And he was not prepared for that really at all, I don't think. Because you are so you hold it together, don't you? I mean, you hold everything together.
yeah,
And those first few sessions with you with the back to balance, I don't know if you still call it that, but
yeah, yeah. We do. It's more self-led, but yeah, it's still the foundational kind of.
yeah, it's great. And do you want to talk a bit more about what you do then in the academy? Tell us.
So we primarily help teachers and senior, education leaders to transition out of schools into different sectors. So a large part of that is that it's very burnout and trauma informed. We do have a lot of people coming in having experienced stress all the way to PTSD. So I'm a certified coach, also cognitive hypnotherapist. So I've done quite a lot of work with CBT, mindfulness, acceptance commitment therapy, that sort of thing, and a yoga teacher. Went on a whole
Who
holistic. I'm
likes
going to do
doing
all the things.
lots of qualifications at once?
I know. I do love a course, but it's shaped it to be quite a unique space in that I've really held on to that. Like we talk about burnout recovery, well-being, identity, like so much. So while we do have set phases that take teachers through exploring their sense of identity, their values, their skills, to then start kind of gently showing them different career paths that they might take. We move on to obviously writing CVs, preparing for interview, and we're just actually developing a fourth phase, which will be sort of that ongoing career fulfillment and life
Oh,
coaching,
nice.
to help you start well and to keep recognizing those kind of teacher mindset gremlins, which I'm really excited about because that allows me to do more of the, I suppose, more holistic
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah,
While people are like finding that sense of alignment, like what does alignment actually look and feel like for me at this point in my life? So we went from having cohorts, which you were part of, Laura,
yeah,
and we used to have like a group come in.
yeah.
And we'd have the wellbeing sessions on a weekly basis, which gave a nice container to get to know each other.
Mhm.
And then there's quite a lot of self-led resources and kind of group coaching, more like the practical kind of CV clinics, things like that. But yeah, we've moved to a membership model now. Wanted to do that for a while.
Mhm.
I'm glad I waited until I did. It needed to build up the audience. I
Yeah,
can talk to you all about the business side of
yeah,
things as
yeah.
well. But yeah, so we switched to having had a number of successful launches. We were getting to the stage where a launch would bring in 75 members, and I was doing quite a lot of one-to-one calls. So we switched the model up to a membership model, where I don't do any one-to-one as part of that. So
Okay.
yeah, really, really happy with that. Our launches are bigger than ever, and yeah, we're kind of sitting at nearly 200 members now.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
really
amazing.
cool. And there
Yeah,
are like, other elements to it. We have like an alumni
yeah.
membership, and we do a lot with our business school, specifically helping teachers become virtual assistants. Mostly, we do have
Mm.
like tutoring pathways,
Yeah.
coaches, etc. But the kind of the VA business opportunities for teachers is brilliant. So we've got a cohort of 25 coming through a mentoring course at the moment. But
That's amazing.
yeah, so my biggest kryptonite is not doing too many things because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, shiny over there, and they all benefit everybody, but you want to have that depth. We do
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
quality and the depth, but
yeah.
yeah, it's a growing ecosystem. But yeah, it's brilliant. We do like couple of big launches. We do a big summer boot camp, um, which is 5 days. I think we had like 2,000 register for
Wow,
that.
that's
And
great.
then yeah, we've got the Stale Go, which is the one you did, Laura.
Yeah,
We've got that coming up in Easter, which is the first time we've done it live for a good like year or so.
yeah.
So
Oh, well, if you're a teacher who's struggling, go to Joe, stay or go, honestly. But I was going to say, there's literally not going to be any teachers left, Joe.
it is not. And do you know what? I used to care about that, and I don't anymore. They need to stop calendar. They just need
I
to
have
do it.
completely rebelled since leaving school. I'm like, I hate schools. They're so shit. I can't believe all
I
this.
know. I
They're
used to
doing
feel really uncomfortable. It
ranting.
took me a long time to get to that point. I did a lot of one-to-one coaching in the beginning, and it was
Yeah,
very much in the stay or go, like
yeah,
helping you get to the point of realizing what's you and what's not. What can I actually manage stress-wise? And every single one of them felt so much better, more assertive, and they all left. But
yeah,
they left on their own terms, and it
yeah,
got that really confirmed for me then that there are lots of people out there helping teachers' mental health to stay in, but what actually they needed was somebody to advocate and say, it's okay for you to go. It
yeah,
really is. You've done a
yeah,
great job. Like, that's it now.
yeah.
Go, go.
Do you
So,
have
yeah,
many who come through and then decide to stay?
very few,
Yeah.
very, very few. And to be honest, like anecdotally, those that do more often than not will be back.
Will
And
they?
they'll try it,
Interesting.
and it's not to say it's always doomed to fail. It's not at all. Like sometimes people renegotiate their roles or they go to a different, a very different setting, and it gives them a whole new lease of life.
Yeah.
But we had one member, and it would be like a support group because she tried to leave like 3 times, and a job would come up, and she'd be there saying, "Don't let me apply for it." It's like an AA meeting for those that need to be in the classroom. Yeah, she's very happy working in an art centre now,
Oh,
which
great. Oh, that sounds nice. Oh,
it's
lovely.
so many amazing jobs. We had
There
somebody get a
are.
job at the Globe the other day, which I was
Oh,
very chuffed.
wow. That's cool.
Yeah, the logos on the kind of wow wall are looking really cool now.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. That's something that I didn't realize, and I think a lot of people don't realize is just how big the world is. Like it's absolutely massive. And a
Yeah,
lot of people go from this is what I was saying to my daughter the other day, because I don't know whether I said this to you, but they've been saying to her, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up?" And she's like, "I don't know." My eldest daughter Lucy is 14 at the moment, and she was
Yeah.
13 when they were asking this question, "What do you want to do?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know what I want to do." And everyone around is like, "I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be this. I want to be that."
Yeah.
And they made them all put on a piece of paper what they want to do, like loads of words or whatever, and put it on the notice board in their tutor room. And Lucy's like, she's incredibly diligent and hardworking and always wants to do everything right. So she sat there going, I don't know what to do. I don't know
Yeah.
what I want to be. And so actually got really stressed about this, because they're putting this pressure on. She's 14 years old, and I'm saying to her at home, you don't need to know what you want to do. You're
No,
14
not at
years
all.
old. It doesn't matter. And so we started talking about skills and things like that instead, like what sort of role do you want to work together? Do you want to work with somebody else? Do you want to be in charge? Do you want to be in a team? Like that sort of thing. How do you want to feel at work? All of these sorts of things. And I think when you are a teacher, you go from school, you go to uni, and then you go back to school. And it's like there's
Absolutely.
no
But known it.
experience of
Yeah.
life outside of that. And that's the system that we have in place at the moment. I could go on about this for a little bit, but
There's no
that's
agency,
the
is
system.
there? There's no,
No.
yeah, there's no agency. And we give away so much of our power then because we're not
Yeah.
used to making decisions for ourselves because we're
Oh,
used
yeah.
to a timetable.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And you work for yourself, you're like, oh, I really should color code my
I
calendar.
know. Gonna make a cup of tea, and I can go for a wee whenever I want, which actually is
Yeah.
quite pleasant. But yeah, the what was I gonna say then? Ah, I've forgotten. But
But
yes, I think
self-employment
it
is an
is this.
option, isn't it? That's the most important thing is that we don't realize that we can work for ourselves. And like,
Yeah,
yes, there are obviously
yeah,
associated risks, and it's
mm,
maybe considered a privilege for some to be able to go and have that opportunity to try and start a business.
mm,
Um, but my son, equally, that he's really academic. I
yeah.
can see him working for himself because he's seen that now as a
I
possibility.
know.
It's an equal option to
Yeah,
being employed.
yeah, yeah.
And my dad was in the trade, he's had a really large company.
Mm,
So maybe I grew up with that. I don't know. Like I wouldn't have considered it. I'd always wanted to have my own business.
yeah.
Always. The amount of pocket money companies I had. Honestly, we'd make lavender bags and go knocking on doors like
God,
total
yeah,
scabs and say, "Do you want to buy one for 50 pence?"
yeah.
Or trying to wash people's cars. Can you imagine a child coming near your car now with a gritty bucket of water?
Well,
You
I
wouldn't go
know.
anywhere near it,
No,
would you?
no. We had one a few years ago, and I was like, my husband was like, "No, don't let them wash cars." I was like, "Oh, go on, we used to do this all the time. We had to wash it again afterwards, but I mean, anyway,
Let me tell
but
you
I
what, I'll give
know,
you a couple of quid and you can just
yeah,
call it even. We'll just
yeah,
go away. But
yeah,
yeah,
go
no,
away, get off.
really.
We used to make paper, me and my friend Sam, we used to
Oh,
make,
wow.
like when you sort of make paper all wet and then you stick it all together and it looks like handmade paper or whatever.
Yeah.
But the way we used to make it is we used the toilet roll. So my next door neighbour's mum was gutted and she was really cross with us because we'd used all her toilet roll making these
You don't actually think about where the initial startup costs come from. I bought
Yeah.
my son a whole polymer clay set because he was making earrings and selling them at
Oh
school and made a
wow.
fortune. And they
Yeah.
were really cool and really fun to make. So I gave him like the startup funds and he paid me back. And
Excellent.
but you make your own money. Like
Yeah, that's
particularly
it.
now, it's really
Yeah.
competitive for kids to get jobs, isn't it? Like
I
I
think
worked
it,
from the age of 12. Like that's just all I
yeah,
knew.
I did. Well, I got forced to during the holidays. I had to go to my dad's office and we had
In the mines.
yeah, we had to do the filing and they actually made us make phone calls at one point and I
Wow.
had to say hi, this is Laura from my dad's business. Can I talk to the MD, please? I didn't have a clue what an MD was at the time, and how weird must it have been
Totally.
having this kid? You must have been able to tell it was a kid ring up. Really weird.
I'm not going to do
But
that.
just piggybacking on what you said a moment ago, I think it's being aware, like having an awareness that there is other options to, going into a traditional career or a traditional job. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those. We need doctors, we need
Yeah,
engineers,
yeah.
we need teachers and all the rest of it. But just, I think. Well, I think teachers should have to work first so that they know what's in the real world and then they can come back and teach because I think I certainly my careers education with school was like nothing. I had a chat and they handed me a prospectus for a university and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really know. I had a year out. I went to uni and did art, and then I decided to be a maths teacher because I missed maths and I'd always been good with kids, and so that's what I decided to do. But I honestly had no idea
No.
of what was out there, of what was possible, and I am so in awe of some people. Like, I think. maybe like younger people or just people who have had this totally different life experience to me, where I just didn't know. I mean, my dad had made his own business, so there is an entrepreneurial streak
Mhm.
in there. But yeah, just you just don't know, do you? You just don't know what's
No,
available.
I think it's a bit better now. I do think that
Mm,
the graduate recruitment schemes are
yeah.
probably better than they were. But I try and look back on it because I had friends who did do graduate recruitment schemes. But when I did my English degree, it was I wanted to go into publishing because I wanted to stay in that book world, but I didn't want to move to London. That's the
Yeah.
only reason I trained to be a teacher. And I was like, well, I've got the attention span of a gnat. I'm really creative. I love learning. Like teaching sounds like the bomb. And
Yeah.
to be fair, it was. But
Yeah.
what I didn't recognize was how much I think anxiety I was suffering with throughout
Mm,
university. And that's where I think those graduate recruitment schemes wouldn't have been open to me. I wouldn't have seen them because
yeah.
my focus was very tunneled because
Mm,
I did suffer with anxiety. And the same with when I started teaching, there were many elements that I enjoyed. I say that and I look back on it there and I was so ill even then.
oh, yeah.
Like chronic migraines, chronic headaches that I've suffered with for decades,
Mm,
and so exacerbated by the stress of being in the classroom. I used to
mm,
come home every day and like I'd get my sound of the waves music and be in the bath, like just without having the language at the time, regulating my nervous
yeah.
system. I was
Yeah.
so overstimulated.
Mm,
Um, so from the very beginning, looking back on it in hindsight, it wasn't the right environment for me.
yeah.
But I was, a high achiever. I wanted to prove myself, and I had a very successful career. I was
Yeah.
like, I was consultant before the age of 30
Yeah.
across like two local authorities, um, being paid to do a master's. I had so many opportunities because I pushed myself and because I would apply for the jobs that I had 70% of the skills for. This is what feeds obviously into what I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
why it's very successful
Yeah.
because I did that despite the anxiety.
Yeah.
So I always had that kind of, well, why shouldn't I? Also being crippled with anxiety, but so
Yeah.
the combination of being able to prepare for that, I think helps then obviously everybody else coming
Yeah.
in. Uh, but
I'm
yeah,
amazed. That is so cool that you apply for the jobs where you only had 70% of the skills, because that's a stat that I read not long ago, is that men apply when it's
yeah,
60% and women will only apply when it's 100. I'm one of those 100% people. I'm like,
Queen
I
of
can do the
Black,
whole
God
thing. I can
Black.
do all of this, but not that.
Yeah.
How to do that. So
Yeah, it's that thing, isn't it? Like there's somebody
yeah.
far less qualified out there. And I remember having this conversation with a mutual friend of ours. She was going for a job and we were talking about her why and the passion behind why she wanted it and versus her lack of confidence. I was saying to her, do you realize that if you do not sell yourself, somebody else is going to do this job
Yeah.
and they're not going to be as good as you and they're not going to care as much as you and they are not going to support those children or, those vulnerable people as well as you can. Kind of, it's not about you. Like, just
Stop
get away from
making it
that.
about
Get over it.
yourself.
It's not about you. Because they're the types of
Yeah.
mindset tricks we have to play on ourselves. Same with
Yeah.
the boundary setting. I'm saying no to this, so I can say yes to something else. Like if that's what you have to tell yourself. But yeah, it is about you really. But you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Just got a little bit of free coaching there. You're absolutely right. Yes. It's not about me.
Absolutely. Got
Yeah.
to keep coming back to that. And we're also driven, I think, by fighting for others.
Yes.
That's that sense of cause and purpose, that real like warrior-esque energy. It's
Mm,
it's it's almost that universal thing that will drive us and it
mm,
will push us through being visible and being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there and just
yeah.
getting over ourselves. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, get over yourself. That's we'll say that very lightly because there's a lot of work
Yeah, of
that goes
course,
into
of
getting
course.
over yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very different when I'm like in a darkened room with a migraine on day 4 and
Get over
just
yourself.
but thinking let's just burn it all to the ground because I can't
Oh,
do it. But yeah, you
yeah.
have to ride the waves, don't you? And
And that's true, actually. There is, even despite doing lots of work on mindset and pulling myself out of a difficult place, which you obviously helped me with, um, it's never over. Like there are days where things aren't good and you have to think, well, for me now I've got an awareness around those feelings and around those thoughts, so as soon as I start having those thoughts where they're not helpful or things are negative, I'll be like, oh, Laura, you're thinking really negatively, because they make you
yeah,
feel awful. And so I try and switch it up, but I think having that awareness around that's part of the work, isn't it? Is having the awareness of what's happening with your thoughts and being able to catch them. And so if you can get to that place, then you're in good stead, aren't you, to move
Yeah.
forward. That's not to say you're not going to have bad days, because you will have bad days. You can
Okay.
also have great days, but it gives you the ability to turn a day around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and the only thing that's going to ever like consistently work is that self-compassion and learn and rebuilding that relationship with yourself. We were talking about, how to feel emotions. Like, sounds really
Mm,
silly, but actually, when we're so good at pushing them down, we don't make space for, we don't kind of parent ourselves very well. We think about, with a young child that was saying to us, like, I'm not happy, I'm not safe, I've had enough now, and we ignore them. Like, that's
mm,
that's really triggering, but yet we
yeah.
do it to ourselves. So rebuilding that relationship through compassion, which sounds a bit contradictory, me saying get over yourself, but it's not, because there's a difference between hiding and avoiding
Yes.
and replenishing and recognizing when you're depleted and you need to look after yourself. And that's always that I'm really fascinated by that dance, particularly
Mm,
post burnout, or if you experience those cycles of burnout and illness, um, recognizing and catching yourself where you are habitually hiding and avoiding, because the anxiety and worry isn't the problem, and the avoiding is the problem.
yeah.
So it is that kind of procrastination or self-care session. I remember doing ages
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
and but it's
I
not
have.
like it's an ongoing journey,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's kind of coming from a voice of compassion, I suppose.
Yeah. I think my when it was really difficult for me, I was hiding. I was hiding like completely from, and uh, it was awful, but I was just hiding away from everyone. I wasn't contacting anybody. I mean, people weren't contacting me, but I
Yeah.
wasn't, if I'm normally the person that contacts people and keeps in touch with people. And so, but I just started to hide. I wasn't replying to anyone. I just was, I wasn't in a dark room, but I was like sat on the sofa all day. I wasn't doing anything. I felt really lonely. And so, yeah, the importance of getting people around you who know or can meet you where you are
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
It's almost having that code word, isn't it? It's like having those safe people. And
Mm,
I have I have limited safe people because that makes me comfortable. I'm not going into like neurodiversity
yeah.
conversations, but I think it's like almost having those code words, isn't it? And I've had people when the children were really young and before children that I could phone up and
Mm,
say, and them to me, I'm feeling really depressed today.
mm,
I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything. And then force me out,
yeah.
force me to connect, and vice versa. And it's the hardest thing is asking for help, isn't
Yeah.
it? Even if it's just one person that you can kind of send that SOS to,
Yeah.
say, I
Yeah.
need that loving slap to
Yeah.
get out of myself right now.
Yeah. I didn't have anyone. Well, my husband didn't know what on earth to do. He was like, just didn't know what to do. My parents didn't understand what was going on. People don't get it. And making that step to contacting someone was actually really terrifying for me. I'd found a phone number of a support group. This was for my facial pain, and I I saw it and it was there, and I didn't want to ring them. I wanted to hide away. I wanted an email address. I didn't want to have to speak to anybody face to face, well, not face to face, but over the phone. And it took me about 3 weeks to make that phone call, about 3 weeks. So it's a huge step. And I know that because you have two Facebook groups, don't you? You've got a Facebook group which anybody can join, and then you've got a members only Facebook group. Is that right?
It's a private app now, so we
Okay.
use the Heartbeat app for
Okay.
all our members. So it is off social media,
Yeah.
deliberate. But yeah, yeah.
In the free Facebook group that you have that anyone can join, there's quite a lot of people who post anonymously, aren't there? And I can understand that because when I was still at school, I wouldn't want my colleagues, in case they tripped upon it, to know that I was having these thoughts or these feelings. And so that is it's hiding, isn't it? Until you
Mhm.
feel confident enough to take a step towards getting some support, which
Yeah,
is,
absolutely.
you've taken half a step joining the group. And then as soon as you can sort of go and, feel brave enough and muster up the courage to take the next step,
Yeah.
and join you. Which, by the way, everybody, is worth it. I just, if anybody's a teacher and
Life
listening, yeah,
changing.
it is life changing. Yeah, I wouldn't be here well. I may have got here, but maybe it wasn't easy, but
No,
I
no.
wouldn't have been able to apply for the jobs that I applied for without your help. I mean, you were amazing, and I was very lucky because I got in right at the beginning, so I did get
When you've got
one-to-one
lots of
help.
extra time. Some
One-to-one
one-to-ones that
help.
people don't get now. Yeah.
Um, but Jay was amazing, and I really want to thank you, Jay,
Oh,
for that support at that time. It did really help me, and that's why you're here, and that's why I wanted to talk to you because I wanted everybody to hear sort of the little roles that they think they played, but actually were quite large roles in my sort of journey from leaving being a teacher, having chronic illness, and getting to where I am now. And you were part of that journey for me. So thank you very much.
pleasure. I'm very excited to have been, yeah, honoured
Yeah,
and
there
excited
you
to be
go.
part of that journey. It is magic. And I think when you're in it in a business and you're, doing all the things, it's really easy to forget,
Yeah,
It's like having those wins, isn't it, on the
yeah,
wall, but it's watching people coming back to life, like
yeah,
absolutely. And you can't take it for granted. And being part of, even being part of the community, you're all helping each other to do it, aren't
yeah.
you?
That's it. Yeah, it is. Did you want to finish with anything before we say? Because I could literally talk to you all
I know,
day.
I know. I think like the main thing I end up doing, I think, in the free Facebook group is still encouraging people to go and see their GP.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is the hardest step, and for whatever's going on for you, whether it is the anxiety, sleeplessness, digestive issues, you're aching, you've got chronic headaches, things like that, just go and see your GP. There could be so many contributing factors, and having that objective conversation where somebody can actually assess how you are doing is so important, to have somebody validate how you're feeling, give you permission to maybe slow down and stop. So I think, across kind of our dual communities, Laura, I think that's the most important thing, is to, as you say, like the hardest bit is asking for help.
Yes.
And if that feels really big, like what's the step before?
Yeah.
Breaking it down into like these micro steps. So maybe it's not phoning today, but maybe it's telling a friend that you're going to phone tomorrow, and like practicing what you're going to say. Maybe
I
it's
like
like
that.
making a list of bullet points of the
Yeah.
things you've got to remember to say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it is those choice points, isn't it? Those sliding door moments where actually your future self, and I always get really emotional, I think, when I talk future
Oh,
self,
yeah.
but your future self is only going to be so grateful for you asking for help,
Yeah.
uh, and changing, the course of your life, which those small things can just change the whole trajectory of where you're going in life. So yeah, just connect and ask for help, I think.
And I think realizing that you are able to make a choice, because I
Yeah.
think when you're in it, you don't think you have a choice. You think you've just got to keep going to work and you've just got to keep going, keep going. But you do have choices, and just being aware of the fact that you can make a different choice. And it is brave. And I like the idea of saying to your friend, just to sort of get a bit of accountability, really, isn't it? I'm going to ring the doctor tomorrow, and then like have you ring the
Can you
doctor?
text me afterwards? Text me 11
Yeah,
o'clock later
yeah,
because you'll
exactly.
get an answer phone
Yeah,
message and then you'll
yeah.
go back again tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, do you have people for internationally come into your group, or is it just women and men in the UK? You have got international.
Yeah, we do. We've had members from Malaysia, the US, Dubai,
Great.
Singapore, like places. So yeah, it does tend to be kind of, I suppose, like expats in the international schools, but we do have members who maybe want to come home, or they want to work internationally, they want to set up businesses. So there've been a few members that have set up you kind of like online businesses, whether that's kind of art businesses or virtual assistant businesses. So yeah, predominantly in the UK. We don't necessarily advertise jobs abroad, but
Yeah.
yeah, we do support international teachers as well.
There we go. So if you are not in the UK, you can still check out Joe's group, which is called Adventures After Teaching. And they're amazing. And I'm really, really grateful to have stumbled upon you on Facebook back in the day, and to have made the choice to join you. So thank you so, so much for coming on my podcast today. It's been
You're welcome.
delightful to catch up with you. And As I finish off, I always say that just to remember that you are really brave and really strong every single day, and that you have magic in you and you just need to share it. Thanks very much, and I shall see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
Laura.